The wind over the holy plains of Kurukshetra did not merely blow, it wailed with the weight of 1,000 destinies. This was the Dharmakshetra, the field of righteousness, where the soil was already saturated with the blood of heroes and the tears of gods. Under a sky bruised with the hues of purple and gold, the greatest conflict of the Dvapara Yuga reached its most agonizing crescendo. It was a time when the veil between the mortal realm and the celestial heavens was thin, and every arrow loosed from a bowstring echoed in the halls of Indra's palace. At the heart of this cosmic storm stood two figures whose lives were woven together by the threads of fate, duty, and an ancient curse that was about to be fulfilled. On one side stood Arjuna, the third Pandava, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his mighty bow Gandhava trembling slightly in his grip. His eyes, usually filled with the clarity of a lotus petal, were clouded by the mist of sorrow. Opposite him lay the patriarch of the Kuru dynasty, the invincible Bhishma. He was the son of the holy river Ganga, a man who had conquered death itself through the power of a terrible vow. He lay not on the ground, but on a bed of arrows, his body pierced by the shafts of his own grandson, suspended between the earth he had protected and the heaven that beckoned him home. To understand the transformation that was about to occur, one must look back to the time before the war, when Bhishma was known as Devavrata. He was a king in spirit, the rightful heir to the throne of Hastinapura, yet he was a king who had renounced his crown for the sake of his father's happiness. His pride was not the pride of a tyrant, but the pride of a man whose word was absolute law. He had sworn to remain celibate and to serve whoever sat upon the throne, a vow that eventually chained him to the side of the unrighteous Kauravas. This pride in his own steadfastness, this unyielding adherence to a rigid vow, had turned his heart into a fortress of ice, beautiful yet cold.
O grandsire, protector of the Bharata race, my heart breaks to see you thus. The sun begins its southern journey, and the shadows lengthen over this cursed field. Why must the best of men suffer the most agonizing of ends? I have followed the path of Dharma as dictated by Krishna, yet every arrow I loosed against you felt like a dagger in my own soul. Tell me, is this the reward for a life of unparalleled sacrifice?
Do not weep, Partha. The arrows you gave me are the only comfortable bed I have ever known. For decades, I have slept on the silken pillows of a palace that was rotting from within. These shafts of yours have released the stagnant blood of a king who lived too long. My pride was my armor, Arjuna. I believed that by keeping my vow, I was upholding the world. I did not realize that by clinging to the letter of the law, I was strangling the spirit of justice.
As Bhishma spoke, the great Lord Krishna, the eighth avatar of Vishnu, stepped forward. His skin was the color of a monsoon cloud, and his eyes held the depth of the entire universe. He looked upon the dying lion of the Kurus with a gaze that combined the severity of a judge with the infinite mercy of a father. Krishna knew that Bhishma was no ordinary mortal. He was the incarnation of Dayal, the god of the sky, one of the 8 Vasus who had been cursed to live on earth for stealing the divine cow Nandini from the sage Vashistha.
The time of the curse is drawing to a close, O son of Ganga. You have lived through the ages as a pillar of strength, but even pillars must eventually crumble to allow the new temple to rise. Your pride in your virtue was the final chain holding you to this mortal coil. But look now, for the gods themselves have gathered in the clouds to witness the return of the light.
Vasudeva, you who see the past and the future as a single moment, I see it now. I see the folly of my silence when the daughter of Panchala was insulted. I see the pride I took in my invincibility. I thought I was the master of my destiny because I could choose the moment of my death. But death is not an ending, it is a transformation. Arjuna, my throat is parched, not for the water of the earth, but for the essence of the divine.
Arjuna, understanding the silent command of his master Krishna, took up a celestial arrow. He invoked the Prajanya Astra, the weapon of the rain god. With a release that sounded like a clap of thunder, the arrow struck the earth near Bhishma's head. Suddenly, a fountain of pure, crystalline water erupted from the dry soil of Kurukshetra. It was not ordinary water, it was the essence of the goddess Ganga, who had manifested to quench the thirst of her dying son.
Drink, my son. Drink the milk of the earth and be purified. You were born of the heavens, and to the heavens you shall return. Your earthly kingship was a burden of shadows, but now you shall receive a crown of eternal light.
As Bhishma drank the celestial water, a miraculous change began to take place. The blood that stained his golden armor began to glow with an inner luminescence. The thousands of arrows that formed his bed started to dissolve into beams of pure white light. The stench of the battlefield, the odor of decay and iron, was replaced by the fragrance of parijata flowers from the gardens of Indra. The soldiers of both armies, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, dropped their weapons in awe. The clashing of swords ceased, and a profound silence descended upon Kurukshetra.
I feel the weight of the crown falling away. I feel the walls of hasty Napur dissolving. I am no longer a regent, no longer a general, no longer a victim of my own word. Arjuna, look up. The sky is not a void, it is a map of the soul's journey.
The stars are appearing in the middle of the day. Krishna, what is happening? The very constellations are shifting their positions. Observe, Arjuna, the reward for a soul that has finally surrendered its ego. Bhishma has transitioned from the Dharma of a man to the Dharma of the cosmos. Because he stood as a fixed point of honor in a world of chaos, the Creator has seen fit to grant him a place that shall never be moved.
The spirit of Bhishma began to rise from his physical body. It was a form made of pure radiance, blinding to the mortal eye. The celestial beings, the Devas, the Gandharvas, and the Asparas, began a chant that resonated through the three worlds. They sang of the Vasu who had returned, of the king who had sacrificed everything, and of the warrior who had found peace. The soul of Bhishma ascended higher and higher, piercing through the clouds, moving past the realm of the moon and the sun. As the world watched in silent adoration, the radiant spirit of the patriarch did not vanish into the void. Instead, it positioned itself at the very apex of the celestial sphere. In a final act of divine alchemy, the pride of the king was transformed into the permanence of a star. He became a beacon, a fixed light in the northern sky that would guide travelers, sailors, and seekers of truth for all eternity. He was no longer a man bound by the laws of time, but a celestial sentinel guarding the path of righteousness.
He is a star. My grandfather is now a light that the darkness can never touch. Even when the night is at its deepest, he will be there to show us the way. He is the Dhruva, the steadfast one. He represents the soul that has passed through the fires of Kurukshetra and emerged as pure gold. Let this be a lesson to all who walk the earth, that when pride is surrendered to the divine, the mortal becomes immortal, and the king of the earth becomes a prince of the heavens.
The battle of Kurukshetra would continue for many more days, and much more blood would be shed. But from that moment on, whenever the warriors looked up at the night sky, they saw the new star shining with a cold, clear brilliance. It reminded them that beyond the politics of kings and the slaughter of men, there existed a higher order, a celestial dharma that was as fixed as the star of Bhishma. The king who could not sit on an earthly throne now sat upon the highest throne of all, watching over the world he had loved and left behind. And so, the legend of the star of Kurukshetra was born. It is told that to this day, those who are lost in the wilderness of their own hearts can look to that fixed point in the heavens. It tells the story of a man who was once a proud king, who suffered the arrows of fate, and who was ultimately elevated by the gods to be a guiding light for all humanity. The plains of Kurukshetra remain silent now, but the star of Bhishma continues its eternal vigil, a testament to the power of sacrifice and the ultimate reward of a soul that finds its way back to the divine. If you felt the power of this epic transformation and the ancient wisdom of the Mahabharata, do not let the fire of this story fade. Like the video to honor the legends of old, and subscribe to our channel to join us on more journeys through the mystical realms of Hindu mythology. Your support helps us keep these eternal tales alive for generations to come. Explore the deep philosophical dialogue between Arjuna, Krishna, and Bhishma about Dharma, pride, and the nature of sacrifice. This story captures the moment the heavens opened to welcome a soul that had finally transcended its earthly vows, a cinematic retelling of one of the most powerful moments in Indian mythology, where celestial weapons clash and divine grace transforms a mortal warrior into a guiding light for eternity.